Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
G'day and welcome. This is the Hunting Republic podcast. The podcast where we discuss all things hunting and outdoors.
And buried in your bones, there's an ache that you can't ignore. Taking your breath, stealing your mind, and all that was real is left behind.
So if you love hunting, camping, fishing, hiking, bushwalking, full driving, or just being in the outdoors, then we reckon you've come to the right place. My name is Luke, I will be your host, and I can't wait to have you along for the journey. So please enjoy this edition of the Hunting Republic podcast. G'day team, welcome to another episode of the Hunting Republic podcast. And today we are going back to the discussion that I instigated in December, asking for people's input with regards to their opinions on the top 10 hunting commandments. So what would be the 10 commandments of hunting that they would like to follow, that they would expect others to follow, and that, they think is a good idea to have people adhere to, or at least consider when they're out in the outdoors hunting. So joining me today for a different perspective is my good mate Brett. You've heard me mention Brett a few times on various podcasts. And what else do you do on a lazy Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock? But knock off early, talk shit, and jump on a podcast. So welcome, Bretty.
Thanks, mate. Good to be here.
I thought I'd ask Brett to come on the podcast today, primarily because Brett's pretty new to hunting, and I thought that when we're discussing the content of these 10 commandments, it might be an idea to get Bretty on and to have that discussion around the fact that, I guess a new person's to hunting and their perspective rather than someone who's been doing it for a while.
Absolutely.
So, let's dive right in. Alrighty, so for those people who caught the post that I made on social media, what I did was I had the idea back in December to ask for people's input with regards to what they thought might be, their top 10 or their top number one or whatever with regards to what they think is extremely important with regards to hunting and those things they should or might abide by. We had a bunch of different people write in and give feedback and comment on the post that I put in different groups and on the page. So we had shout-outs. We got Owen Kay, Matty Haynes, Mitchell Foster, Mick Arnold, Michael Van West, Andrew Benton, Luke Sandrusi, hope I said that right, Ian Potter, Chris Milburn, Kane Muller, Chad Logan, Rowan Hutcher, Paulina Vlasova, hope I said that correctly, Lachlan Carnell, Rebecca Ward, Arthur Alchin or Alkin. Have I got two from Rebecca Ward? Yes, 2 comments. Excellent. Thanks, Beck. Feral Animal Solutions Australia, Dean Lickenblatt, Christian Borgie, Matt Lawrence, Ryan Campling, and Brad Pine. So a bunch of comments there. And what I did, guys, was I actually grabbed all of your comments and suggestions, and I actually got a bit lazy, to be honest. I threw them into ChatGPT and I asked for a summary. And the summary that we came out with is what we're going to go down the top 10. So the first thing we're going to do before we dive into that is we're going to put the pressure on Brett and say, Brett, you want to introduce yourself to the Hunting Republic podcast listeners and tell us a bit about yourself, mate.
Thanks, Luke. So lived in Bundaberg most of my life, Central Queensland local. Got into the sport of hunting thanks to you, roughly three and a half years ago.
You can't blame me for it.
And it was an on and off thing to start with. So I used to be pretty heavily involved in the Scout Association for many years, so target shooting was a big thing. Was no stranger to a bow, mainly recurves and things like that with relatively light poundage, 25 to 30 pound bows, that sort of thing. Always fascinated by compounds and what you guys were doing with them. So, once you guys had re-established yourselves in the area, you dragged me along on a couple of outings, and it's fair to say I was pretty well hooked from day one. As soon as I had that compound in my hand, that was it. Still yet to get that elusive first trophy, but we're working on it, and time out in the bush is always worthwhile.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, it's not for the want of trying, that's for sure. We've spent a lot of time in the scrub. We've had Murphy turn up a few times, and he has certainly made the buttered bread land with the butter side down. And it's just been the luck of the draw so far with the way it's unfolded with us when we've been out there doing lots of miles and trying to put all the pieces together. And we've been close a few times and closer a few other times. Yep. But I think everybody listening certainly knows that it's not we're choosing to use the bow is choosing to do it. Slightly harder. It's a bit easier than throwing rocks, but it's still is definitely a big part of that.
Challenges.
That's right. It's the huge part. It's the challenge. So, there's I guess there might be a little bit of overlap here with regards to your opinions on, the top 10 that we have here, and what my opinions are, because you've pretty much jumped into hunting with me and tagged along and come along with me out in the scrub as your primary influence, I suppose. But at the same time, you're a big boy. You've got your own opinions, and we're happy to share them with the public. All right, so safety first is the number one. So that's the first thing that people have, or the list has come up with. That doesn't mean it's the highest priority. That's just number one on the list, safety first. And look, I think that goes without saying. I personally will say that I've done lots and lots of hunting in the solo capacity over the years. And when I do, every single step is considered before I place it with regards to safety. And to the point where, I think that you yourself know that when I go out, first and foremost is something that I regularly harp on about.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think with our backgrounds too, like having grown up, as you said, in scouts and that together, and having done a whole lot of this outdoor stuff in various formats, we're both of the same mindset there.
100%. Yeah, I think it's probably second nature to both of us in our day-to-day jobs too. I cover a lot of kilometres, do a lot of highway driving all over Queensland, and you and your various tasks in emergency services. Safety is a high priority for us in our jobs, so I think it's easy for us to carry that over into our lifestyle pursuits as well.
Most definitely. And when you see the outcome of those, where things go pear-shaped, I suppose, on a frequent basis, and I know firsthand that you've come across a number of incidents on the highways in your travels over the years. It certainly makes you reconsider what you do, when you do it, and how you do it.
Yep.
So one of the other things I did with ChatGPT as we head into 2024 and embrace technology as it comes upon us is I actually I asked ChatGPT to generate some conversation around this. So I thought it might serve as a bit of a test guinea pig for us, but also it might just give us a bit of food for thought, I suppose. So for safety, ChatGPT came up with the following. I'll try and summarise because there's half a page worth of stuff here. The first commandment of hunting is perhaps the most crucial. Safety first. Every firearm must be treated as if it is loaded. Never pointed at anything you don't intend to shoot. And the same can go for bows, but it's a little bit more obvious, I suppose. Safety is not negotiable. It is incumbent upon every hunter to prioritise safety above all else. Safety is paramount in hunting, is not just a guideline. Imagine you're in the woods, firearm in hand, scanning the horizon for your prey. In that moment, what matters most? It's not the thrill of the hunt or the anticipation of a successful shot. It's ensuring safety of yourself, your fellow hunters, and anyone else in the vicinity. And as you know, we like to say in industry and whatnot these days, it's everyone should get to go home at the end of it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Safety isn't just about yourself, it's about safeguarding the future of hunting as a whole. Accidents and negligence tarnish the reputation of hunters everywhere and provide ammunition to those who seek to restrict our rights. Let's educate ourselves and others about proper firearm handling and safety protocols when in the bush, and let's lead by example. Show the world that hunters are responsible stewards of the land and guardians of safety in the great outdoors. What do you reckon?
I think it's good. That's pretty well spot on. One of the things I think that was important for me when we first started getting myself out there a couple of years ago was getting used to the surroundings and not just being aware of who was nearby with another bow, but also what was going on around us. You know, was there a danger of wild animals, all that sort of thing?
Yep.
Was there inherent risks on the property that we were on? So that was a huge eye-opener for me, and I think Chat GPT summed that up pretty well.
I think that the best part there is, or certainly not the best, but a very important part is about safeguarding the future. Accidents and negligence tarnish the reputation of hunters everywhere. You know, we've all heard of people being kicked off properties because they were being dickheads, and commonly, you know, it's not unusual to hear a farmer comment about them being unsafe, and that be with their conduct with either their vehicles, their firearms, their dogs, you know, even with the use of a campfire and being irresponsible at the wrong time of year with fire, things like that. So at the end of the day, you know, it's an environment where small problems can become big problems in a big hurry. Yeah. And I don't think it's something that should be, you know, taken lightly. Safety is definitely right up there, because if you can't be safe, you know, the consequences are just not.
Yeah, particularly as you say with the spotlight on our industry. You know, we're probably under a bigger microscope than just about any leisure pastime that exists at the moment, or any sport.
Yeah, that's it. Number 2, respect property.
Yeah. This is a big one for me. Absolute huge. It's an absolute privilege to be able to gain access to a lot of these properties, and we all know how hard that is, particularly in areas where you can't hunt on public land in state forests and things like that. So we tend to treasure those connections and those relationships we have with landholders.
Absolutely.
So that for me is right up there, and I'd put it in equal paring with safety, really. You know, protecting those relationships and doing the right thing by the people that are allowing us to pursue our interest.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Couldn't have said it better. You know, at the end of the day, and we've all heard it said, you know, we're being welcomed onto properties that are someone's backyard. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, 500 square meters or 5,000 acres or 50,000 acres or 500,000 acres. At the end of the day, it's someone's backyard, and it's
their place of business too. You know,
oh, absolutely,
it's their livelihood.
That's right.
So they have a right to go about their day to day, and we have a responsibility to honour that.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, to respect the fact that their rules are the rules that we abide by without question. Mm-hmm. That we, you know, make sure we don't do anything that could encumber them with cost or loss, with regards to livestock or crops or you know, infrastructure or whatever. You know, not driving on certain tracks. Like, you know, when we were out west just the other month, and it was as muddy as, you know, and there were certain roads that I avoided, and others I knew that were okay to drive on because they're rarely trafficked by the property owner for anything of decent note anyway. So
I think the other thing there too is in life, we know if people have a negative experience, they tell 10 people. Positive experience, they tell 1. So the last thing you want to do is upset a landowner that's granted you access and have him tell 10 of his mates, and that just shuts gates on all of us.
Exactly, 100%. Which ironically, Gate etiquette is number 5. So what does ChatGPT have to say about respecting property? Respecting property boundaries is not just a courtesy, it is a fundamental principle of hunting ethics. When we step onto someone else's land, we're entering into a sacred trust with the landowner, and it's our duty to uphold that trust with the utmost respect. Imagine for a moment that you're a landowner responsible for stewarding a piece of wilderness that has been in your family for generations. You've invested time, money, and effort into maintaining its beauty and preserving its wildlife, as well as obviously, as we said, sort of that's our source of income and our livelihood. Yep. Now imagine discovering that strangers or other people have trespassed on your property without permission, disregarding your rules and boundaries, which points to making sure you obtain permission. Obviously, hunting on private land, obtaining permission. It's not just a matter of legality, it's about showing respect for the landowner's rights and wishes. By seeking permission, we acknowledge their authority over property and recognise their role as stewards.
I think GPT's been listening to us.
Skynet.
Pretty much verbatim what we've just talked about.
Once granted access, it is essential to adhere to the landowner's rules and boundaries without question. Whether it's designated hunting areas, restricted zones, or specific times of day, these rules exist for a reason, and it is our responsibility to follow them diligently. And that's a good point too, because it's paramount that, and I don't think anyone out there wouldn't check in with the owner in some fashion when they rock up to a property. Either that being, I know I've hunted on some properties where you camp and hunt is way down the back, and you can access that via a different road. You don't necessarily have to drive around to the other side of the property or whatever. Or like in our experience in our last trip, the property owner was away on holidays. But there's been occasion where they've said, "Oh, look, we've got cattle down in this paddock, or we've got this crop in there, or whatever," and they've said, "Oh, just stay away from that area," or that sort of thing. So, making sure you follow those rules and making sure that you've touched base to find out what's changed since you were out there last time.
Being the eyes and ears too. If you see something on the property that you don't think's right, report it back to the.
Pump your brakes, Brady. That's coming.
Yeah.
You're shooting ahead of us here, Marty. But back to the script. Respecting property rights is not just about following the letter of the law. It's about fostering positive relationships with landowners that go beyond the hunting season. By demonstrating our respect to their property, we build trust and goodwill that can lead to long-lasting partnerships and continued access to hunting opportunities. So, yeah, I think it's just saying, do the right bloody thing and be a good human.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as I've heard on other podcasts before, just be a good human. It's not rocket science, is it? Point number 3. This could be a can of worms. Ethical shots.
Yes. Okay. So probably a tough one for me as someone who's new to hunting. I spend probably, I would say, 3 to 4 hours every week just throwing arrows at a target. And to me, it's...
Haven't I shown you how to shoot him yet?
Damn, I knew I was doing something right. It's really hard to hold the bow.
No wonder you can't hit a pig.
To me, shot placement's huge. Being comfortable with putting that arrow in the same spot every time. As you mentioned earlier, we've had the opportunity to stalk up on a few packs of pigs and be very close. And the one thing that runs through my mind, especially a couple of times where we've been close, was I just want to make this right. I don't want this animal to suffer, and I don't want to be the guy who gives it a permanent injury. Potentially, it runs off into the scrub and dies a slow, painful death. So.
Absolutely. And this ties in well with my rant episode there, not last episode, the one before.
Yeah.
There is no excuse for not being good at what you're in control of.
Exactly.
And that is shooting an accurate arrow or an accurate bullet, and doing that to effect and humane and kill as possible. To minimize suffering. And it is the perennial slight on hunting that not doing so and broadcasting it to the world, because you're basically don't have a freaking clue. It is the one of the biggest, probably the biggest tarnish.
Yep.
Second to maybe, or sorry, the only thing second to that would probably be poaching, trespassing.
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen over the years, haven't we, the images when someone takes a photo of a kangaroo with an arrow sticking out of it, and that makes national news, and that reflects badly on all of us, unfortunately.
Yep.
Me personally, even though I haven't had a kill yet, I would rather walk away from a shot if I wasn't confident and chalk it up to, okay, I've had the experience stalking the animal. That's paramount to me. I think that's no questions asked.
That's it. And look, even the first stalk that you ever did, you got into what, 10, 12 meters.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 15. It was very close.
I don't know. The heart was pounding harder than a jackhammer at that point. So.
It wasn't your heart that was pounding from where I was watching. But we pushed in hard to get into that distance, and realistically, we did it quite comfortably.
Yep.
But yeah, Murphy showed up, and things didn't pan out as we had liked. But at the same time, knowing that you were well within your comfort zone, is a big confidence thing. And then the next time, having done that already now, the next time you see the opportunity, you know what's possible.
Yeah. And I think once I'd had a couple of stalks like that, and you've lost the shaking limbs and the deep shallow, the shallow breaths.
Do you lose that?
Yeah. I think, thinking later on when we went on a couple of following hunts and got up close and personal with a few, was thinking more about the shot, more about where I was going to get that animal, if it was achievable, and if it wasn't, just going, okay, what else can I get out of this now?
Yeah, 100%. So let's have a look. Ethical shots from ChatGPT. Ethical hunting demands precision and restraint. Self-control, ultimately. Only taking shots you're certain of, ensuring a clean and humane kill, whether it is waiting for the perfect angle or passing up on the shot altogether. Ethical hunters prioritize the welfare of the animal above all else. And that is sometimes one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
Especially, where the instance is either A, you're first, or B, in the case if it's the stag of a lifetime, or the pig of a lifetime, or the hunt of a lifetime, or you just don't get to go very often. Sometimes it's a very hard thing to do. Ethical hunting is not about just harvesting game. It is about ensuring a clean, humane kill. The principle lies at the heart of the commandment of ethical shots, that being commandment number 3 in this list. Ethical hunters understand that patience and restraint are paramount. They prioritize the welfare of the animal above all else. It's repeating itself a bit here. They know that taking a risky shot increases the likelihood of wounding rather than killing the animal swiftly and humanely. It's a sign of respect for the animal. By waiting for the right moment, hunters demonstrate their reverence for the life they're about to take. It is a moment of connection between predator and prey rooted in the ancient traditions of hunting. Ethical shots go beyond just waiting for the perfect opportunity. It means knowing your own limits as a hunter. That's a bloody good point.
Absolutely.
If you're not confident in your ability to make a clean kill, it's better to hold off and wait for another opportunity. There will always be another hunt, but there's no replacing the life of an animal needlessly lost to a poorly placed shot. Or more to the point, there's no replacing or no cure for the suffering apart from doing the right thing and putting the effort into dispatch that animal.
Yeah.
Ultimately, ethical hunting is more than just pulling the trigger or shooting the arrow. It's about making responsible choices that reflect our values as hunters. And about respecting the animals we pursue.
Yep, 100%.
So I think it's become more, it's more of a discussion in recent years with respect for the animal, and that you are, as Optimus Prime says, we're killing sentient beings.
Yep. I think it's really encouraging when you look at a lot of the groups now that you and I are members of, particularly on social media and the like, that it is a conversation that's first and foremost these days. A lot of people want to practice ethical hunting. It's a primary discussion piece. People are talking about how to kill ethically and do the right thing. We know that there's always going to be rogues that'll tarnish us a little bit, but slowly but surely I see the odds swaying in our favour, and I think the more conversations we have around it, the more it pushes those idiots away.
Yeah. And I heard the discussion the other day with regards to on the Becoming a Bowhunter podcast about using a multi-pin sight versus a single pin sight on your bow. And bow hunting particularly in this case, the discussion was regards to that some people use a single pin sight and they set it at whatever their ethical limit is, that they know that their abilities are more than adequate to affect a humane shot.
Yep.
And I hadn't thought about it in that regard before, but I know in the past when I have used single pin sights, they were set to 30 meters, but that's my hunting distance anyway, irrespective. These days I use the Garmin A1, and I've actually got that out to calibrated to 65 or 55 meters. But the only reason I've done that, so when I go and shoot ABA rounds, it doesn't come back and say it's not calibrated, so you can't shoot it and just have a wild guess. Because I don't like guessing with $55 arrows. But also for the fact that, things don't always go right, and sometimes you do need a follow-up arrow, and sometimes you need to shoot that at distance.
Yep.
And so the ability to shoot at that 55 or 65 meters makes a difference,
Yeah, which again comes back to, I guess, knowing your ability too, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, there's no way I'd consider a shot like that at my level. I'm probably effective to 20 to 25 metres at the moment. But someone like yourself who's been hunting for a very long time, absolutely.
And that's again, knowing that limit. Can I take that shot if I have to? Yes. Mm-hmm. Will I take that shot if I have a choice to get closer? No.
Yeah.
And I've said for 20 years now, for me, I want to see if I can take that next step and get closer every time. Yeah. Can I get closer? Can I get closer? And if the answer comes up, I think so, then I'm going to do it just for shits. Yeah. And I blame that many stalks trying to do it. It's not funny, but for me, that's the challenge: is how close can I get inside that animal's comfort zone without it knowing I'm there?
Yeah.
And if that's, I've shot goats where the arrows hardly come off the string before, you know, and I've shot pigs where I've seen their eyes blink, like they've been that close. So it's always good fun. Point number 4. Leave no trace.
Yes.
Leave no trace.
Leave no trace. You and I are very familiar with this, having been campers, four-wheel drivers, outdoors kind of people our whole lives.
Yep.
I would go further than leave no trace and actually leave the property or the spot better than you found it. That's always been our ethos when we've been out together, right back to when you and I were 13, 14-year-olds running around the bush too. So
you're telling people how old we are.
But I think, oh dear. I think it's critical, and we see, unfortunately, particularly in this region that you and I live in, we're seeing national parks at threat of closure because campers and four-wheel drivers are doing the wrong thing. So we as hunters need to absolutely make sure we leave the place better than we found it. Comes back to what I sort of said earlier. If you see something on a property, it costs nothing. Well, it's a minimal cost if you see a fence strand down or something like that to do the right thing while you're there.
Yeah, that's it. Staying like we do, out at Marra, we go out and stay in the workers' cottages and that, we always tidy it up, leave it in a very nice condition, irrespective of how we found it or whatever.
Usually donate a few beers to the...
Yeah, leave the leftovers in the fridge. Mostly because we can't look at them by the time we leave. Things like that. And obviously, if you're camping, it's a no-brainer as well.
Absolutely.
It's not that hard to take a bag, with you and put all your stuff in it, or your what they call the bags you put on the back of your utes these days and stuff like that.
It comes back to that respect piece, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, respecting your environment and knowing, if you trash the freaking joint, you're not going to get allowed back on there.
No.
So, you're kicking yourself in the ass if you don't do the right thing. But also, I think that comes down to, when you are out and you're hunting and you pull up for a muesli bar. I know I don't on my Brackenwear pants because they don't have cargo pockets as such. But back in the day when I had just the old Oz cams, I would always have one of my map pockets, my cargo pockets on my right leg was my rubbish pocket.
Yeah.
You know, and that was just all my wrappers always went in that pocket. And at the end of the day, I just pulled it out and threw it in the rubbish bag back at camp.
Usually for me, it's one of the pockets on the pack. And it's always great when you find that rubbish pocket when you go out for your next hunt and you've forgotten to empty it from the last one. So.
It's like finding the melted Freddo frogs, isn't it?
Thankfully, there's not too many Vegemite sandwiches left in there usually.
But. ChatGPT says, leaving no trace is a fundamental principle of responsible hunting. Pack out everything you bring in, including shell casings, rubbish, and other waste. By minimizing our impact on the environment, we preserve the natural beauty of our hunting grounds for future generations. Leaving no trace is more than just a mantra. It's a fundamental principle of responsible hunting and emphasizes the importance of minimizing our impact on the environment. Packing out everything you bring in, shell casings, rubbish, it repeats that. It does that. I'm noticing a trend here.
Yep.
It's interesting. We preserve the natural beauty of our surroundings and protect the delicate ecosystems that sustain it. That's a good point. Respecting the environment.
Absolutely.
Avoiding unnecessary disturbances to the environment, such as damaging vegetation or disturbing wildlife, is essential to minimising our impact on the land. I think that could also lead into disturbing livestock.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, farmers obviously prefer, say, for example, cattle that are quiet rather than they're restless and hard to handle. And if you go belting about a property and disturbing cattle and disturbing livestock, be them horses or goats or sheep or whatever they are, you're going to piss off that farmer.
Absolutely.
And if they bust through fences or whatever, then you're also going to end up in the shit anyway. So you're not respecting, and you're definitely not leaving. No, you're not adhering to leaving no trace.
Correct. Yeah.
That was hard to say.
We got there at the end.
By adhering to the principle of leave no trace, we demonstrate our commitment to conservation and environmental stewardship. And without getting on the green bandwagon, we're hunters. We love the bush. We love the environment.
Yeah.
And that is part of it as well.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think that's self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I like this bit. But also honouring the legacy of those who come before us and ensuring that future generations can experience the same awe-inspiring wilderness that we do today.
I don't know how awe-inspiring it is sometimes when you're walking through waist-high nut grass.
Prickles and mud and shit.
It's all part of it.
Here we go. Gate etiquette. The basics of gate etiquette are what, Brady?
Leave it as you found it.
It's not hard, eh?
Absolutely. And that goes for whether you're on the property hunting, whether you're traversing to your hunting site. And this comes back to knowing your property owner and respecting your property owner to have a chat to them. We've found a couple of times on the place that we frequent, we've been okay to go through gates, sometimes leave them open. But generally the rule of thumb where we go is if you find it closed, keep it closed. And it's not hard, right? Like even if you're by yourself, it takes 15 seconds to get out of the ute, go back and close the gate.
And it's even better when you're the gate bitch.
Absolutely. When you're like me and you get stuck slopping through the mud and
dropping your phone.
Dropping my phone, driving up the road, realising it, haven't got it half an hour later. All that stuff.
No, it's surprising that it's a concept that I think people who maybe didn't grow up as we both have, knocking about on properties and farms and stuff like that. I can remember Dad teaching me as a kid, to leave a gate as you found it and explaining why. And of course that explanation helped it make a whole lot of sense. And there's a bunch of reasons why, but the one that I was told as a 6-year-old was if the gate's open, it's there for a reason to might be to let the cattle through to get to water, and if you shut that gate, then they can't get there. They might die of dehydration.
And conversely, if you leave a gate open, they could potentially get into a wheat crop and cause $100,000 worth of damage.
Exactly. So, common sense. And even if you are, pursuing game, and you might be in a hurry, be that with with pig dogs or whatever it is that you're doing, you still take that extra 10 seconds and you shut the damn gate. Because once again, you're kicking yourself in the arse if you don't.
I always found it's a good sense check too, particularly on the properties that we hunt on. Get out, open and close the gate, gives you a chance to sort of stop, take stock of the surroundings. That. And, you never know where you're going to see a hunt. You never know where you're going to see an opportunity, sorry.
Yeah.
And sometimes the simple act of getting out, opening a gate and closing it, having a look around, I know you and I from personal experience, it's led to a couple of where we parked the ute and then stalked off into the bush because we've seen evidence of pigs.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It's like, it springs to mind. So we stopped and cracked those 2 hares last time. There's a couple
absolutely.
of gates there. We weren't opening gates at the time, but because we knew the hares were there, we actually pulled up to go and see if we could find them, and we did. But, how many times have we driven up to those gates and the chances of looking around and seeing those hares on that corner every time, sort of thing, and then again at that particular gully, as you know, down to the right of that creek there's been a dingo seen there by the property owner a number of times, and we've seen the signs of pigs down there. So it's it just makes a whole lot of sense. So ChatGPT says, oh, look at that. Always leave gates as you found them. Closed if closed, open if open, and never change their position. By respecting gate etiquette, we demonstrate our commitment to maintaining order and safety on private property. But having said that, the same goes on public lands too.
Yeah.
In state forests, they will have those gates closed and or open for a reason.
Yep.
And in state forest, where I don't know exactly all the rules across the states in Australia, but I know there could be leaseholds over certain areas. Whether there's hunting allowed there or not, I don't know. But, you could be on a block that has no leasehold and you hunt there, and you might traverse through a leasehold block to get to another one where you can hunt. Well, if you leave those gates open, then the cattle farmer's not going to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also, obviously, the state forest workers, they've got their plans, their reasons, or whatever else. They're not going to be happy either. So they'll look up who was there last, who had the permit for the weekend or the week, and they're going to come knocking on your door. Gate etiquette might seem like a simple concept, but its significance goes far beyond mere courtesy. It's a matter of responsibility and respect for both the landowner and the environment. Adhere to a few simple rules. As we said, leave them as you found them. It's as simple as that. It's not hard. Leaving it closed could lead to... leaving a gate open that's meant to be closed could lead to escaped livestock, compromised security, and even accidents. Conversely, closing a gate that's meant to be open can disrupt the natural flow of wildlife, impeding access for other hunters and create unnecessary obstacles for landowners. That just makes a whole lot of friggin' sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's just common sense.
All right, we've done half the list.
Awesome.
We're flying, mate. That's like half an hour. What do you reckon number 6 is? Can you remember?
Was it something to do with property owners?
Or possibly. It's something. It's a concept that's a bit more relevant in modern hunting and modern farming of biosecurity.
Yeah.
So not something that 20 years ago was really on the radar of many hunters that I know of, or something that was discussed a lot, but a very high of high importance these days.
Yep. One of my previous jobs took me onto farms quite regularly, delivering industrial supplies, gas bottles and things like that. The biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone, if they're not from a rural area, or if they don't spend a lot of time in rural areas, is those biosecurity signs they put on the front gates of farms. They don't put them there for shits and giggles.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really important, especially with how easy it is to convey diseases across properties that can affect cattle, sheep, livestock in general, even the biosecurity risks that can devastate crops and destroy livelihoods. So I think it's on every single one of us, if we're walking onto a property, to understand before you go on that land, talk to the owner and go, what do I need to do? What precautions do I need to take? So,
yeah, absolutely. And be aware of what, I guess, what biosecurity type things are endemic to the areas you're in.
Yes. Yep.
Like out where we go at Marrow with the Parthenium weed and stuff,
Yep.
being aware of that, and they're not
heavy cotton growing area too, so a lot of risks there.
Yeah, but making sure you're not the vector for transmitting
Yes.
that then from one place to another. Coming home, making sure you're doing the right thing before you go out to a different property, and because you don't want to spread that stuff around. But also, I think biosecurity with regards to moving animals or game or carcasses or that sort of stuff too. Spreading disease about on the property, irrespective. If you've shot an animal, making sure you don't leave it in a waterway or in a dam or whatever, or in a proximity where it could cause issues for either the farm or the farmer's stock or anything like that as well. Even like the farmer's dogs and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
That sort of thing too, I think is very important to consider. ChatGPT says biosecurity awareness is essential for protecting both wildlife and human health. Follow biosecurity protocols to minimize the spread of disease and invasive species. By taking proactive measures, we safeguard the integrity of ecosystems and ensure the longevity of our hunting traditions.
Spot on.
Yep. And we're very fortunate in this country too, in that we don't while we do have the concerns of biosecurity, we're still protected because we're an island and we have things like foot and mouth and all that sort of stuff.
Also, if you're hunting on larger properties anywhere here in Australia, it's pretty easy to adhere to the biosecurity standards on each farm, because you don't tend to be going from one property to another. You tend to be on a place there for a day or several days, whatever you're there for. So, I think that's where it comes back to really understanding from the landowner what's required and how to minimise the risks.
Yep, 100%. And it's not hard, wash your car when you get home, clean your boots off, that sort of stuff. And making sure, therefore, again, respecting the environment, respecting nature, so that it's where we want it and how we want it the next time we go.
Yep.
Point 7. Here we go. We finally caught up to you, Brett. Report back.
Yeah.
In other words, keep in touch with the property owner. Keep in touch with people to let them know where you are.
You want to view that property owner like you would view your superior at work, a boss or something like that. It's particularly if you don't have history with them, if you're on a property that you've just recently gained access to, you want to build that trust with that property owner as quickly as you can, and being their eyes and ears. You can walk onto some of these properties, and I know of one out near Longreach where it takes 2.5 hours to drive from one side of the property to the other.
Just a small place? Or
just a small place.
When you're drunk?
Yeah, well, 4 hours when you're drunk.
Oh, right.
Some of these properties are so big, these guys do boundary checks in helicopters. So they're not eyes and ears on every bore, on every piece of fence, every gate. And a lot of those guys do rely on some of the guys hunting on their properties to come back and say, hey, I noticed this, take some photos, do that sort of thing. I think if you can become an extension of what the property owner needs, then they're more than likely going to welcome you back with open arms next time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, spot on. And seeing issues that you've got eyes on there and then, and when as soon as you can, being able to report those back means that you can help them, fixing that issue and remedying that problem more quickly, which ultimately for any property owner means dollars saved.
Saving.
So it means there's a safety issue that won't cause problems, or there's livestock that gets dealt with more quickly, and therefore it might be, I don't know, it might be an animal that's suffering, and you then get to do the right thing, and maybe the farmer says put it down or whatever, so you're helping out in other ways that are attended to more readily and more rapidly, and they help in a bunch of different ways, I suppose. But even things like I mentioned to you before, you might rock up to a property where you go onto the property, not through the front gate, not by the front door, and it could be the place out at Longreach, for example, and it's that damn far to the other side of the block, but that's the best place to go to hunt. That the property owner says, hey, look, next time you're out here, just head route. Don't worry about calling out and seeing us. Don't drop into the farmhouse. It's all good. We know that's a big long way out of the way. So just go down to the back block and hook in there, and camp up or whatever, but just let us know when you get here or let us know when you leave. You know.
It never hurts to ask them too. You know, if you're going onto a property and you're going remote on that piece of land, just asking them, hey, is there anything you need us to check while we're down there?
Yeah,
Do you need to take some photos of bore sites or anything like that? So.
Yeah, but even to the point of also checking with family and friends at home, you know, like messaging the wife or whatever, you know, look, I've arrived safe, it's all good, you know, and like we go out to Mara and the reception out there is, well, put it this way, in the middle of this year when 3G drops out, I think we're going to be in a world of trouble.
Or it'll be peaceful bliss.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're out there on your own, like I have been in the past, and you're walking through Brown Snake Gully and you see that brown snake, you sort of think, shit, I wish I had better reception.
It's a long run back to the house with a snake bite.
Exactly. So, yeah, reporting in and letting people know what your intentions are, whether you're leaving early when you've got there late or whatever it is always a good idea. Even like in the first episode of this podcast, when I talked about, I was out there hunting with Barry and Dave, and we had a kip one afternoon, and the other two guys, they were all like lights out. They were just like snoring away and carrying on. And I got up and went for a hunt, but I left a note on the table to say where I was going and what I was doing, and sort of when I expected to be back, because I knew there was no reception. There's no way of actually contacting them otherwise. And you know, something happened to me while I was out there, they wouldn't have a clue where to start looking.
Exactly. It comes back to that spatial awareness too, doesn't it? Like if those guys wake up, you're not there, they decide to go out and hunt, you're out there in your brackenwear camo, which is invisible. You know, you put yourself in danger too. So
yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point. ChatGPT says communication is key in hunting ethics. Always report back to property managers with any unusual or concerning observations while hunting. By sharing information and collaborating with landowners, we contribute to the overall health and sustainability of our hunting grounds.
Spot on again.
So one of the things that has just sprung to mind too is not only that, but just what you touched on there is communicating with each other.
Yep.
Being that when you're stalking or going to shoot something, or you're splitting up and you're walking, you know, either side of a water hole, or you might go down different creek lines and stuff like that.
Yep.
Being aware, you know, a little bit more paramount if you're using firearms, I suppose. Well, not I suppose, it just is, because, you know, projectiles can go a lot further than bullets, than arrows.
Yep.
But that sort of communication too, and sticking to what you agreed that you would do and where you would end up.
Yeah, I think absolutely 100% critical. It was probably one of the things that I was most anxious about the first few times we went out hunting. I guess the advantage for us was we have known each other for 30 odd years, and so, you know,
that just means I ignore most of what you say.
Correct. Jeez, I only just realised that. But you do tend to, you know each other's body language cues and things like that. I've often thought to myself that if I was to go out with someone I wasn't used to hunting with, I'd need to definitely establish a set of ground rules and a set of signals and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But usually from the other side of the gully, when you're flipping me the bird, I know I've done something wrong. So.
Just after you stood on that big stick.
Correct. Or slammed the door in the ute.
Well, yes. Yes.
I did say I was a new hunter.
We had to tell Dave that when we went out too. I said, Barry, tell Dave not to slam the door. Yes. Property managers rely on the insights and observation of hunters to monitor health of ecosystems and address any potential threats or issues. Well, they don't rely on it, but it definitely helps. It can be insightful, I suppose. Whether it's evidence of poaching, signs of habitat destruction, or the presence of invasive species, every piece of information helps paint a clearer picture of what's happening on the land. That's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you notice gates, damaged or whatever, and signs of people who shouldn't be there.
Yep.
Damaged equipment or stolen equipment or that sort of stuff. 100%. Again, big properties, they can't be everywhere all the time.
It happens more than I think probably people care to realise on big western stations and things like that. Yeah.
Yep. The next time you're out hunting, you come across something unusual or concerning, don't hesitate to report it back to property managers. You're not just fulfilling your duty as a responsible hunter and a good human, you're also contributing to the collective effort to ensure the health and sustainability of our hunting grounds for years to come. There's a theme here, Brett.
Yes, and it's all about building trust.
100%.
Yeah.
Point number 8. We're flying along. Friday afternoon, it's beer o'clock. Priority of safety. Well, we've come back to safety. That must be something underpinning the whole conversation here.
Funny how, when you're playing with projectiles, bullets and arrows, that safety comes into it twice.
That's it. Well, this one's a slightly different slant to the safety we talked about earlier. This particular point from ChatGPT talks about the safety of all individuals. Alcohol and firearms are a dangerous combination.
Yeah.
And I think this point has come about because multiple times during the points that people posted, on social media, there was comment about that their rule and the rule that they adhere to, the rule they were brought up with or whatever, was firearms go away, the alcohol comes out, and not one or two before or mix. No drinking while the firearms are out. You know, as soon as the beer comes out, as soon as the rum gets cracked, the firearms get put in the case, and that's it.
And I think, from memory, we've done that every time.
Usually.
Well, we haven't combined open alcohol.
Oh
with
shit!
hunting.
No.
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 And that's been a no-brainer for us. And again, I think that probably harks back to both of our professions too, where alcohol's to be respected.
Yeah, that's it. 100%. I think you mix dangerous things with inebriating substances.
Yep.
You're asking for a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, I think that that's it's a recipe that could land you in, out of favour with the property owner if you end up being a dickhead cowboy and hooting about and shooting and drinking and carrying on.
I think back to like the safety aspect again too. Alcohol aside, I think it's always been really important for us to be alert and well when you're out there hunting. There's I don't recall a time where I've ever been hungover or anything like that. Particularly when you are we're mainly dealing with bows when we're out there, but we have had firearms on occasion. And I think being alert and being present of mind and not being affected by heavy fatigue or anything like that is critical in those instances too, because you've seen it, I've seen it in day-to-day life. People do make mistakes when they're tired, and the consequences sometimes are tragic. Yeah,
that's it. And on top of it all too, and I've said for however many years I've been hunting now, I can sit at home and drink a carton in the afternoon if I want.
Yeah.
And then wake up with a hangover the next day and feel like shit. Well, why would I want to do that when I'm hunting?
It's not while we're out there.
You supply the alcohol. I won't allude to Brett's profession, but
for reference, I do work in the alcohol industry. Yes,
that's why I keep it around. But obviously, we have some beers, we have some rum, we have some port, whatever it is we're having. But at the same time, it's not fun to try and get up and go for a hunt the next day.
It's never to excess. I think the party animals that you and I have become in our ranges. We're generally on those hunts. We're generally in bed by 9:30.
Maybe. But even in the past, I've been to archery comps and shoots and stuff like that, and I remember one very, very clearly. It was down at the Gold Coast, and my mate Dave, who I mentioned in a previous podcast, who lives in New York. When he was living in Australia, we went to this shoot, and Dave's ex-military. I spent some time in the Army Reserves, and the Saturday night on this shoot, we rocked up to the club bar, and the guy behind the bar was also a veteran.
Yep.
And we just got talking bits and pieces and whatnot, and they were doing $2. What were they? Is that the dog next door barking?
Yeah.
It was Jimmy and Coke or rum and Coke or something. I can't remember what it was, but basically you'd have a swig out of the top of your can and then you'd top it up.
Top it up.
It was $2.
Yep.
And the guy's name was Adrian. And he's like, oh, I'll look after you boys. You'll be right. You have this, crack this one, have a swig, and I'll top it up. And swig. We'd scull it. We wouldn't have a swig. And then he'd top it up. And by the time the night had finished, I went and laid down in my tent, and I swear there was just waves going. And I was lying on the ground, getting up to try and shoot and concentrate the next day in like 32-degree heat was just, and that was just archery, and I'm just trying to shoot a bow at a target, not trying to actually hunt, and that was just shit.
Well, and you and I experienced it when we were out west a few weeks ago. We got up at 2:30 in the morning to head out to this property, and basically kitted up and went straight into the field. And we were both struggling within 2 hours.
It was bloody hot.
It was hot, but lack of sleep and just sheer fatigue, and we were destroyed after 2 or 3 hours into the hunt. But next morning we got up and walked for 18 kilometres without batting an eyelid.
Yeah,
so,
it was rosy.
Yeah,
we didn't see anything
until it hit 38 degrees.
So, safety in this regard: responsible consumption of alcohol and the use of firearms or hunting implements. Even sharpening knives and shit when you're intoxicated is not a smart idea.
Playing with axes. Yep.
Yeah, throwing them, all that sort of stuff. Hey, here, hold my beer. Right, number 9, respect wildlife. Well, the heart of ethical hunting, respecting wildlife.
Yep. Not just the ones you're out there to kill. So, wildlife as in native flora and fauna, absolutely to be respected at all times. It doesn't matter what we think or how we feel about what kind of numbers they're in. There are rules, and we don't need negative press.
That's right.
Generally we're on properties going after invasive species, pigs, goats, that sort of thing. Deer in some areas. I haven't had that privilege yet, but
this is where I tell you I've got to hunt at the end of March for red deer for a week.
Yeah.
Me and Scotty from urban to outland. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I've got to thank Scotty for that one. Just skimming through what ChatGPT has said here is very interesting because it talks about only taking what's necessary.
Yep,
that's a point that is written there, and that's something that I think people don't necessarily consider when they talk about or think about respect for wildlife.
I would agree with only taking what's necessary if you're not assisting with feral.
Absolutely.
Feral culling management.
Yep.
Definitely. I mean, it's a bit different here in Australia where in the US they have definitive seasons for elk and things like that. Then, absolutely taking only what you need because they're probably not in plague numbers. And to a degree here in Australia as well, definitely. But as I said, it kind of changes a bit if you've got a farmer just wanting you to remove as many feral pigs as possible.
Oh, for sure. And that is, the other side of the coin, I suppose.
Yeah.
If you're out there to assist in reducing numbers, which is a slightly different intent than hunting for a trophy animal or taking an animal for meat.
Yep.
There is obviously that onus on us to assist in managing the population of ferals where we can. And again, a little bit different with the bow because it tends to be more of a selective tool.
Very limiting.
Than using firearms for the same reason and shooting at different things for the same reason.
And I think where we talk bows and being selective, that's where, and you and I have talked at length about this when we've been out in field, so if you've got the option to take a male, a boar, and leave the sow, then that's obviously what you're going to do. You want to break that breeding cycle.
Yeah, and that's part and parcel of, you take out one boar or one male and you limit its ability to spread its wild oats to multiple females, and helping reduce that for sure. I've just drawn a complete blank. I was going to say something else. That's right. Yeah. We're talking about respecting wildlife, but that also ties in with, choosing your ethical shots, and not shooting, or not, knowing your own limitations and knowing your own skill sets. And,
Yep.
Respecting it to the point where you bother to learn about what it is that you're hunting, so that you know where its vital organs lie, and not only where they are in the ideal situation with it side on, broadside, coring away, whatever, but where those organs might be when it's lying down, for example, on its side, or those sorts of things.
Yep.
All that goes towards respecting what it is that you're hunting, to make sure that you do the right thing, with regards to being ethical. And the word ethics has come up a lot, and in many times over the years I've had discussions with people about the ethics of hunting, and
yep.
It is a fluid notion. What's ethical for you might not necessarily be something that I consider ethical.
Can be a hot potato topic. It really can be, yeah.
The wiggles in.
Look, I know even as someone who, new to hunting, so I obviously know a lot of people who don't hunt, don't understand what we do. And sometimes it's better to walk away from a conversation than to, that old saying, it's you shouldn't argue with idiots because they'll just beat you down to their level and outwit you with experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just easier to do that.
Yeah, the pigeon will strut about and still tell you to beat your chest. Yeah, that's it. Ethical hunters understand the pursuit of game is not merely a sport or a pastime. It is a sacred interaction between predator and prey, rooted in respect and appreciation for the natural world. It is a recognition of the inherent value of every living creature and commitment to the stewardship of the land. ChatGPT actually wrote a hell of a lot at this point. It ranted for quite a while. I'm impressed. In essence, respect for wildlife is not just a moral imperative, it is a guiding principle that shapes our actions as responsible hunters. By embodying this principle in our hunting practices, we honour the intricate web of life. It sounds very much like Optimus Prime, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Maybe they're in cahoots. I don't know. Here's a good point. I like this one. The next time you set out on a hunt, remember to approach the task with humility, reverence, and respect for wildlife that calls the land home. It's a little bit warm and fuzzy for me, but approach the task with humility. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I think if you could walk away from a hunt, if you've killed several animals, you can walk away from that knowing that you did what you did ethically, and
absolutely,
and you don't feel, going back to my own experience, when I got into this a few years ago, I didn't know how I was going to go with the whole killing of an animal, because you know me for a long time. I'm a pretty soft touch. I'm a pretty soft sort of guy. But I think once you're out there and you see good hunters in action, it completely changed my perspective, to the point now where even though I haven't had a kill with the bow, I have absolutely no compunction about doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And the process, for each person is different, and the understanding and the experience is different. But I think at the same time, there is a hunter out there that doesn't have some kind of humility within that process, and acknowledgement of that humility within it, and what it causes. Mm-hmm. We're at point number 10 already. Would you believe?
Wow.
I think we've been talking shit for, look at that, bang on an hour. Wow. Fair income. So I like this point. I don't know that it's my favourite point, but it's definitely up there in the top 10. I'll look at that. It's number 10 of the top 10. Honour the hunt. So as someone who I think has been hunting for quite a long time, but has also within that period had some time away for various reasons, this point for me is pretty I can't think of the word. Reverence, not the word I'm looking for, but
poignant.
It pops to mind. Poignant. There you go. Yeah. Booze and words. Look at that.
Not just a booze slinger.
He's a walking thesaurus. But yes, it's poignant, and being able to have the option to go hunting and the permission to go to a property and or legally be able to do it, and there's game there, and there's you have the ability even just to walk, to pull back a bow, to shoot a firearm, honoring and being appreciative of all of those things is a freaking big deal.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people. Oh, sorry to interrupt, but like my father, and I've said in other podcasts, my dad was a hunter before I was born, but my dad can't walk without the aid of crutches anymore, so he can't hunt.
Yep.
Like that's shit.
Yeah.
Because I've been on that many places, I've been to that many properties. I'd love to bring Dad here.
And knowing your father too, as I do, he would still love to be out there.
Oh, absolutely. He's 71, 2 years old. Of course he would. He'd still be out there.
Look, to me, honouring the hunt took on a whole new meaning. Coming from a very outdoorsy upbringing, spending a lot of time on farms, growing up, spending my school holidays on my grandfather's cane farms and things like that. To then get really trenched down and bogged down in corporate life for 20 odd years, where I basically didn't even look over my shoulder. Just gave up the outdoors, gave up everything that I loved, 4-wheel driving, the whole lot. To come back into it, for me, honouring the hunt is that process of me removing myself from life for a while. Getting out there,
logging off of Facebook and logging into life.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. But the mental health benefits that being back outdoors has had for me,
for sure,
is life changing. Absolutely.
Yep.
And so, and to me also coming back into hunting in my 40s,
you old bastard.
learning a new set of skills at my age. They always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you absolutely can. And I never believed that what was I at the time, probably 42, when I picked up a compound bow again, that I'd discover a passion at that age that would completely overtake my perspective on what I wanted to do when I went away and things like that, to the point now where you and I have spent a lot of time talking about this, and early in the piece you were showing me what to look for, where pigs had been wallowing and that sort of thing. Where I find even when I'm working now, and I spend a lot of time on the highways in western areas, I do a lot of outback Queensland driving, and you're looking at those creek crossings going, there's been pigs in there.
Yeah, that's it. I wonder what's over that hill.
Yeah,
I wonder what's around that corner.
Just that ridge line, I reckon there'd be something hiding in that stand of trees. So definitely honouring the hunt. We're so lucky in this country that we do have the ability just to get outdoors and just enjoy what we have, because it's bloody amazing.
Oh, and again, the more you sort of over the years you learn about hunting overseas and stuff, and the fact that in almost every state in this country, for almost every species, you can pick up a bow, you can pick up a rifle, and you can go and hunt it now.
Yep.
Not tomorrow. You can go hunt it now.
Yeah, we're not waiting for a date.
No, we don't have to lock in a season. We don't have to, to worry about tags or permits or any of that sort of stuff for the vast majority of what we can access and where we can access it.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, and you look around at the world, and in one of my earlier episodes, and I talked with Roger when I was in Colorado, he had a week to hunt elk. Yeah. That was it. Per year. He had a week.
We've got 52 weeks of the year.
That's right.
And yes, it's getting harder in some states in Australia now to pursue it, but while we can, we need to get out there and honour it.
That's it. And we need to, where we can, make the point known that, that the point you touched on before, and the fact that we hunt feral animals, to restrict or remove or take away or somehow tighten the screws on those freedoms. And I say freedoms not in the flag waving freedom type manner, but the lack of restrictions. To put restrictions on those things is doing a disservice to the native flora and fauna of Australia.
Well, I think even recently, and it surprised you and I know we both jumped on Facebook and were passing it back and forth at the time. We actually had an article that was taken up by a bunch of newspapers in Queensland where they highlighted the guys out there, professional pig hunters.
Yeah.
And it was done in a really positive light.
Yeah, it was. It was quite surprising.
Which was, Luke and I were sort of, both taken aback going, are we sure this is real? It's not the 1st of April. So, but it's actually fantastic that there's people now having that conversation. And other than a few negative comments that I saw on socials, overwhelmingly people were generally supportive of the articles.
100%.
and were saying, we didn't realise what these guys were doing. Thank you for what you do. And so I think if we can get more support like that, then it makes the sport and the passion a lot easier for us.
Yeah. If we could somehow, particularly in Queensland, manage to get the state government on board with regards to legislation and public lands, that'd be an absolute game changer.
Yeah.
So what does ChatGPT say about point 10, honour the hunt? It says, finally, let us always honour the hunt. I can't say it in Optimus Prime's voice. Trust me, I tried. It's pathetic, but that sounds like it should be said by Optimus Prime, doesn't it? Maybe he could come back at another episode and tell us all about honouring the hunt. Show appreciation to landowners by offering reimbursement, such as meat, money, or assistance with property upkeep. By demonstrating gratitude and respect, we strengthen the bonds of community and ensure the continued privilege of hunting on private land. Honour the hunt encapsulates the final commandment of responsible hunting, a call to show appreciation and respect for the privilege of hunting. The principle emphasises the importance of recognising the contribution of landowners and fostering positive relationships with the hunting community. A slightly different slant than what we've just been talking about.
It is, but it actually makes a couple of really good points.
It does.
And,
we say it, not he or she or they or them or...
as you were reading out the bit about respecting landowners and things like that, and it made me think of if you're going hunting. So you and I have hunted together a few times. Our ethical values when it comes to hunting pretty much align.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I wouldn't say pretty much; they do align. And I think when you're going onto properties, I think it's important if you're going to introduce someone to a property that you're hunting on that you have to be that way.
That's right.
And that's more or less a way of honouring the landowner and that too, by making sure that you're only taking like-minded people on who aren't going to do the wrong thing and show other people the property when you're not there and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Moreover, honouring the hunt is not just about giving back to landowners, it is also about preserving the privilege of hunting on private land for future generations. By showing ourselves to be respectful stewards of the land, we ensure the tradition of hunting on private property continues. So, again, there's a theme here. It keeps coming through. And I think we've covered off on safety as a theme. We've covered off on, doing the right thing by the property owners.
Yep.
And for me, the biggest one that it's covered off on has been respect.
Yeah,
and I think all of that comes back to respect.
100%. Yeah. Yep. And it does. Yeah.
It doesn't. It does. Absolutely.
There's really no ifs, buts, or maybes, is there? Respect for the landowner, respect for the animal, respect for ourselves as hunters too, and the reputation that we're portraying when we're out there.
And in conclusion, hey, you're going to like this. You're going to love this. This is really good. As hunters, we are entrusted with the stewardship of our natural world in the vast tapestry of hunting ethics. There's this Optimus. There's this Optimus vibe all through this.
I'm sure there's a Decepticon sitting somewhere waiting.
Starscream might come out and visit us, eh? The vast tapestry of hunting ethics, one common thread runs through each of the 10 commandments, and that is respect.
Yep.
Respect for the land, the property owner, the animals, the game, the environment, the necessary safety precautions, the honour of the hunt, our hunting partners. Oh, shit. You said you'd respect me in the morning, Brett. And the privilege to the hunt. At its core, hunting is not just about pursuing game. It's about cultivating a deep reverence for the natural world and all its inhabitants. It's about recognising our role as stewards of the land and embracing the responsibility that comes with it. Respect is the guiding principle that shapes our actions as hunters. It compels us to tread lightly on the earth, to treat wildlife with dignity and compassion, and to uphold the values of integrity and ethical conduct in all our pursuits. We're going to come back to integrity in a minute.
Yep.
By adhering to the 10 commandments of hunting, chiseled in stone by Moses on the mountain, we not only ensure... Was it Moses or Abraham? I can't remember.
You're better than me.
We not only ensure the safety and well-being of ourselves and others, but also contribute to the preservation of our hunting heritage for future generations. We honour the legacy of those who came before us. Huge point. I think it's a good one. And pave the way for those who will follow in our footsteps. Well, I've got my father to thank for hunting for me, and hopefully my kids, should they wish, will be able to hunt long after I'm gone.
Yep.
Ultimately, respect is the foundation upon which the hunting community is built. It fosters camaraderie, strengthens bonds, and unites us in a shared commitment to the values that define us as ethical hunters. So, as we venture forth into the wilderness, let us carry with us the spirit of respect in all that we do. Let us honour the land, the animals, and each other, knowing that by doing so, we uphold the timeless tradition of hunting and ensure its legacy for generations to come. Wow.
It's pretty hard to argue with, isn't it? Really.
I couldn't argue with a robot.
Nor would I want to.
It would drag me down and beat me at its level.
We've all seen Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I said, that's about respect. Undermining the whole lot, underpinning the whole lot is respect, you know, and respecting the process, respecting the everything. I don't know. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think as we are starting to come out into the spotlight a bit more, and I think that's just because there are more hunters out there on social media and people sort of, I guess, cataloguing what they're doing and that sort of thing. Yeah. So we always need to be mindful that we're being respectful, maintaining that level of integrity, because it's very easy for people to cast us in a negative light when that's not what we're trying to achieve.
And that's the point I wanted to go back to before. You know, I'm just trying to skim the text,
integrity,
find the words that it said, but it's eluding me right now, and I haven't even had anything to drink yet. But here we go. Uphold the values of integrity and ethical conduct. You know, and integrity is a good one because integrity is doing the right thing even when there's no one there to see you do it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
you know, and at the end of the day, when you're out in the bush and it's just you, and you know, maybe you and your mate or whatever, but still, let's just say it's just you on your own, then there's nothing but your own integrity to uphold or hold yourself to the other 10 commands, those things we just talked about.
Yep.
And I think that integrity and respect, integrity to do the right thing by the property owner when he's not there looking over his shoulder, by the animals that, you know, you're supposed to be respecting. No one's going to care no one's going to know if I gut shot this thing. Well, you know, you're going to know, it's going to know, and you're going to be an asshole for doing it.
It's 100 times easier to get into the habit of doing the right thing than covering your ass once.
Oh, that's it. You know. So yeah, but then, you know, integrity, like it says there as well, you know, touched on before, integrity and respect. And that's I think too applied to the person you're hunting with. You know what I mean? Like we have that because we know we have that. If we didn't have that, well, we wouldn't be mates with each other. But you know, that goes without saying between us. However, you know, like you said before, you meet different people and they have different standards, different ethics, and sometimes they don't align. And you know, that's not always ideal, as we've experienced, I suppose. But I think the 10 Commandments came out pretty good in the end.
Yeah, I like it. I think they're all really relevant. And I don't think, off the top of my head, there probably isn't anything I would add to them, to be honest, other than just, again, comes back to respect. Go out there and do the right thing.
That's it. So I'll go through them again just to summarise. We had safety first. We had respect for property, ethical shots, leave no trace. Number 5 was gate etiquette, biosecurity awareness, reporting back or communication, priority of safety again. That was a slightly different slant of priority of safety, respecting wildlife and honouring the hunt. And I think they're a good top 10.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People say that nothing but rubbish comes from
Probably
social media.
Wouldn't be a bad top 10 for a new hunter to have in their arsenal, to be honest.
Yeah, you know.
Code to live by. Which, you know, if you're a decent human being, you're probably living your life like that already.
Be a good human.
Yeah.
Be a good human. That's it. And, you know, you could delve into those a little bit more if you wanted to specialise, I suppose, with regards to things like, you know, if you want to talk more specifically about firearms, more specifically about bow hunting and, for example, using razor-sharp broadheads, you know, using the right caliber for the right game, and that sort of thing, or, you know, how perhaps your conduct with your dogs when you're out chasing pigs and things like that. And they could be interesting topics for future podcasts.
Yeah, definitely.
Certainly talk about that sort of stuff. delve down a little bit more deeply into each one if you really wanted. But I kind of liked embracing ChatGPT. It's giving us some good shit to talk about on a Friday afternoon. So what do you reckon?
I reckon we've just solved the problems of the world with 10 commandments. So.
10 commandments. Yep. We better write to them and let them know, the world that is. Because the 12 people listening to this podcast probably won't be enough. All right, well, it is now 3:20 Friday afternoon, and I think my lovely wife will be home from work soon, so I should look like I've been doing something constructive for the day instead of sitting on the couch talking shit. All right, thanks for coming on the podcast, Brady.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
And,
Pleasure to be here.
I'm pretty sure you'll be back in future episodes.
Yeah, hopefully with a couple of trophies up my sleeve soon.
Well, that's it. We'll be able to detail your escapades and successes, and hopefully not too many more laughing about when Bertha turns up. But, so that's good to have you on.
Thanks, mate.
And
good to be here.
we haven't actually locked in a date for another hunt yet, but we will have to do that.
Absolutely.
See if we can get out. I guess I don't think I've let you know that my holiday block's been moved forward a month, so.
Right. Okay.
So, my happy days are my guess sooner than
As long as it's not 38 degrees and 90% blinding humidity this time.
Again, bloody mosquitoes the size of B-52. Yeah, cool beans. All right, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Be a good chat. And we'll definitely do it again in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke.